Well, hello, Christy. I understand we are working now to get in contact with the attorney of Deontay Rosales, so hopefully we will be able to make contact with him to see what he knows about his client today. I understand we do have him now, so give me a moment. Don, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Hi.
Okay. Hi, how are you doing?
Very good.
What can you tell us about your knowledge of what happened today at the courthouse with your client?
Well, today we had a major motion scheduled for hearing in this case, and I was on my way to argue the motion and got a text that my client had escaped from the courtroom.
How much of a surprise did that come to you? And just for everyone joining us, I want to go ahead and introduce you. This is Don Williams. You are the attorney representing Deontay Rosales in this murder trial, correct?
Yes, I am.
What kind of a shock was that to you to hear that he had escaped?
It was very shocking, to say the least. We were very optimistic that about the motion that was set today, that it eventually would result in the death penalty being waived, and we had some other upcoming hearings that he and I were both very optimistic about. So this escape comes as a complete shock.
Were you able to speak with him today prior to this? And if not, when was the last time you two communicated?
I did not speak with him today. We were set to be in court at 10 o'clock, and they generally bring him over from the jail and put him in the holding cell very early in the morning. So there was no communication between us today.
When was the last time you were able to speak with Mr. Rosales?
It's been a while in terms of personal, in-person conversation with him. I have been sending copies of all the pleadings and stuff that we filed in his behalf.
Were you able to get a sense of his mood, if you will, or if he felt optimistic about his upcoming legal battle, or did he ever give any indication that he would contemplate doing something like this?
He has always been a perfect gentleman, very soft-spoken, and he's always been very optimistic about what we were trying to accomplish in his case. So
no indication that he would take an action like this, what we see today?
I'm shocked. I've been practicing 43 years here in Broward. I've never had a client, this type of thing happen with a client that I've been representing.
And I know, obviously, we are still getting information about what happened. We don't know how he was able to escape from custody, the circumstances of how that went down. How surprising is that for you as someone who's constantly in and out of that courthouse, and you see the security in place there, and obviously he would have been in restraints. How unusual is something like this?
It's very unusual. I mean, I saw the photographs outside the courtroom with the handcuffs that he was able to get out of, and the prison jumpsuit or the jail jumpsuit that he was able to get out of. So,
yeah,
it's highly unusual.
You have to have some serious concerns for your client at this point. He's unaccounted for. Last description we have, he was in shorts and a T-shirt, and not clear where he's gone at this point.
I'm just hoping that nothing happens to anyone else, or that that if they apprehend him, that he'll voluntarily surrender. I don't want any more violence to happen in this case, either to him or to any other person that might be out there.
If he's listening, or if he's able to hear coverage at some point today and you could get a message to your client, what do you want to say to him right now?
I'd tell him to voluntarily surrender so we can get on with his case.
As far as your knowledge of him up till this point, I mean, do you feel like he listens to you?
Well, we've never had a discussion like this about escaping from jail, so
right.
But he's always been confident about the legal work that we've been doing on his behalf, not only myself, but other lawyers in the office.
Yeah. And, you know, just to talk about his case briefly before we let you go, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us during what I'm sure is a very, very busy time for you. You guys were set to present a motion to essentially take the death penalty off the table. I know that's something the state had filed paperwork several months back as something they intended to seek. You say you were optimistic about your chances.
Yes, I was very optimistic because there was changes in the law. And in March, when they enacted the new statute, and we felt that that there were certain provisions of that new statute that the state had not complied with, which would result in the death penalty being taken off the table.
And you had expressed this to him, that you felt like you guys had a good chance in that respect.
Sent him. He would have been sent copies of all the pleadings that we had filed, and he was optimistic about the way the case was being handled for him.
All right, so once again, you say that if you had a chance to speak with him directly, you would tell him to voluntarily surrender.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. I appreciate you taking the time and keeping us up to date. If it's all right with you, we will continue to check back in.
And Amy, we hate to interrupt, but we wanted to quickly ask the attorney about his family, if possibly he had a chance to speak with the suspect's family about all of this.
Has that happened?
I haven't spoken with any of his family or friends at this point in time.
Is that something you're planning moving forward, as at this point we don't know where he is?
I'm hesitant about doing that because I don't want to become a potential witness in this case. And so I'm going to let the police do their business. They know who his family and friends are, and I'll let them follow up on questioning them.
Mr. Williams, this is Christy. A quick question about the family, though. Does he have a supportive family who have been coming to the courthouse for some of his pretrial hearings, who have been visiting him? Does he have a group of friends that he has been seeing support from that you can let us know about? Or is this somebody who's kind of a lone soldier?
Well, he's lived here in Broward County for a long time, so I would imagine that he's got, I don't obviously know all of his friends or acquaintances, but I would imagine he does. He has a young lady that he has a child with, so yeah, there are people that he's close to in Broward County.
All right, thanks so much. Yeah, we were just trying to get a little bit more feel of who he was and what his roots were in our community in terms of support from family and friends who may have helped. We just don't know in this escape.
And I wouldn't have any knowledge of that either.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams, for speaking to us. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.